Welcome to Rosehill Cemetery in Chicago. This place was founded in 1859 and takes up approximately 350 acres of land. There's many famous residents here, some notorious names, and some haunted locations. Let's go check out a few. Let's start in section 102, where Leo Burnett is buried. He was an advertising executive who started the Leo Burnett Company in 1935. Some of the advertising campaigns they started was the Pillsbury Doughboy, the Jolly Green Giant, Charlie the Tuna, and Tony the Tiger. Leo Burnett passed away in 1971 at the age of 79. Still in section 102 is the grave of Charles Dawes. He started his career as a lawyer and served in the Army during World War I. President Warren Harding appointed him as the first director of Bureau of the Budget, and he worked on what was called the Dawes Plan, for which he was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for in 1925. He was then selected by President Calvin Coolidge to serve as the 30th Vice President of the United States from 1925 to 1929. Following his vice presidency, he also served as chairman of the City National Bank in Chicago, and he held that position until his death. He passed away in 1951 at the age of 85. If you like hot dogs, you might recognize this next name. Oscar Mayer was born in Germany and immigrated to the United States at the age of 14. He took a job as an apprentice with the George Weber Retail Meat Market. He worked that job for a few years. He then moved to Chicago, and after a few more jobs, he rented the Colling Meat Market on Chicago's North Side. It became so successful that their landlord refused to renew their rent, so they moved 2 blocks away and started the Oscar Mayer and Brothers Company. Oscar sponsored the German Exposition at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. The company grew at a rapid pace and introduced the Wienermobile in 1936, which was one of the best marketing tools up to that point. Oscar also became one of the first businessmen to utilize television advertising in the early 1950s. Oscar Mayer passed away in 1955 at the age of 95. The next subject was a little more infamous than famous. Reinhart Schwimmer. He worked for Bugs Moran and was a victim of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre orchestrated by Al Capone to retaliate against Bugs Moran, who was supposed to have been there, but he arrived late and escaped the hit. But Reinhart was not so lucky. By trade, Schwimmer was an eye doctor, and he used his business as a cover for criminal activities. If you've ever ridden a bike as a kid or as an adult, you might recognize Ignaz Schwinn. He was born in Germany in 1860 and came to Chicago in 1891. In 1895, he teamed up with a German immigrant named Adolf Arnold to start the Arnold and Schwinn and Company. In 1908, Schwinn bought out Arnold and renamed it the Schwinn Bicycle Company. He passed away in 1948 at the age of 88. The next name might sound a little familiar to you if you're a football fan or a fan of the Chicago Bears. Jim Dooley grew up in Miami. He was selected in the first round of the NFL Draft in 1952 by the Chicago Bears. He played from 1952 until 1961, and then came back and coached the team from 1963 to 1971. He was ranked as one of the 100 greatest Chicago Bears of all time. He passed away in 2008 at the age of 77. Sticking with the theme of Chicago sports, Jack Brickhouse was a Chicago broadcaster for the Chicago Cubs from 1948 until 1981. He called 3 World Series for NBC. The famous call of the catch by Willie Mays in Game 1 of the 1954 World Series was that of Jack Brickhouse. From 1953 until 1977, he was the voice of the Chicago Bears on WGN Radio. He fell ill while preparing for the funeral of Harry Carey and passed away in 1998 at the age of 82. Rosehill has no shortage of interesting monuments and things to see. Here is an example. The next subject might not be a household name, but you would certainly know his work. Leonard Volk was born in 1828, and he was an American sculptor. He was known mostly for making a life mask of Abraham Lincoln, only one of 2 known to exist. He also made several large sculptures, including the tomb of Stephen Douglas and several Civil War statues. Volk also helped establish the Chicago Academy of Design. He passed away in 1895 at the age of 66. This tour wouldn't be complete without the stories of hauntings and legends. It's really not that scary. The real story is that this is the grave of Frances Pearce Stone and her daughter. This is the most photographed monument in Rosehill Cemetery. Frances lived from 1835 until 1854, and her daughter was also named Frances. Frances, the mother, died unexpectedly, and her daughter passed away 2 months later at only 10 months old. The cause of death records were destroyed in the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, so nobody really knows what actually happened to either one of them. The sculpture was commissioned by Frances' husband by an Italian artist and shows Frances holding her daughter. In the late 1850s, their original burial location of Chicago's City Cemetery was closed. The remains and monument were moved to Rosehill. The monument was then cased in glass to protect it from the Chicago weather and the elements. Now, the haunted legends. It's said that on the death anniversaries of both, the glass fills with a white haze. Numerous people have claimed to see this, but it's never officially been proven or disproven. We'll let you be the judge if you ever visit. Either way, it's a pretty neat memorial. The final stop on this tour belongs to Lulu Fellows. She was an up-and-coming speaker of dramatic readings, an art pretty much erased from today's culture. She had performed for Robert Todd Lincoln, and she was really starting to build a name for herself. She unexpectedly passed away at the age of 16 years old. Her parents had this monument built for her. This site is also mentioned on a lot of haunted tours. It's claimed that this glass also fills with mist, and people leave donations here. It's also said that any time, day or night, or any season, her grave always smells like flowers. That's all for this edition of Rosehill Cemetery. If you enjoyed this tour or this video, please give us a like, leave a comment, or subscribe to our channel for new videos. Thanks for watching.